Stop-motion animation is the medium that probably best captures that delightful little word, whimsy. There's just something about it that appeals to a person's imaginative side. Maybe it's the jilted action that makes it seem almost dreamlike. Or maybe it's just the fun of what are essentially toys moving and talking. Unlike drawings or computer animation, the models really exist. So we know that there really are clay figures of Wallace and Gromit saying Wensleydale.
Wensleydale.
And inventing nonsense. Now, of course, there have been some more mature applications of stop motion, but those tend to be satirical and with an awareness that, yes, this is a medium that is more childish than not. We're living in what feels like the afterlife of stop motion animation, with hardly any films being made in that style anymore. Mostly what's left is imitations of stop motion, like the Lego movies or that cinematic masterpiece Fleshed Away. Computers let filmmakers build sets that would have taken years in mere months, if they would have ever been possible at all without the benefit of computers. And they can do impossible things with the characters that stop motion would never have allowed for. Although they do try to stick to the rules of the medium in general. CinemaWins pointed out a great example from Lego Ninjago.
It's really crazy when you start going frame by frame when you actually see that even though it's entirely digital, they made digital stop motion with pieces imposed to imply movement, even having two Master Woos at times.
Point being, the medium probably will continue and survive in some sense, but most of the traditional methods are going the way of the Tasmanian tiger. So as we stand on the precipice of a new era of imitation stop-motion animation, it's worth looking back at how those traditional methods got to us. The origins of the genre are manifold, with lots of different filmmakers using lots of different techniques that eventually became the methods that have been passed down to us today and are still used by the few filmmakers who are using the old-fashioned ways. This video is going to discuss one of the lesser-known pioneers of the genre, Władysław Starowicz. Now I know what you're thinking. How on earth does this spell Władysław Starowicz? The answer is Polish is weird. Imagine a language with an alphabet totally unsuited to the sounds it uses. The language you are imagining is Polish. They adopted the Latin alphabet, but they didn't change the pronunciation to fit the range of sounds the Latin alphabet allows for. So they added a ton of diphthongs and digraphs to make up for it, leading to words that look like this and are pronounced like this. Wooch. Wooch. So anyway, Władysław Starowicz. The W is a V sound, the L with a line through it is a W, and the CZ is a CH. So Władysław Starowicz. I first came across Starowicz's story in Kaunas, Lithuania. There's a memorial to him there. It looks like this. So of course we did this. Again, you're probably thinking, I thought he was from Poland, not Lithuania. Yes, kind of. His parents were ethnic Poles. But back in the 1800s, when Władysław was born, you couldn't be from Poland because there was no Poland. About 100 years earlier, Russia and Prussia and some other EAs broke it up because beating up on Poland, it's just something people do. So, Władysław was born in Russia, Moscow to be exact, and his parents had been from Lithuania, and they moved back to Lithuania when he was young. He was partially educated there and later became the director of the Kaunas Natural History Museum. That's why he gets a statue in Kaunas. But why this statue? What's up with the bugs in top hats? Well, it's because as a cinematic innovator, his first actors were bugs. Around 1910, Starowicz was living the life of a lower-level academic with a broad range of interests, like the fledgling medium of film, for instance. He saw its value as an educational tool, and his first 5 films were documentaries about the area and nature and such. But something that he could never capture on film that he wanted to was the behavior of insects. See, back then, film cameras needed a tremendous amount of light going in to produce a clear image. Those lights were not very good for bugs. You put them under there, they don't feel particularly well, they don't behave normally, and then, after not too long, they just die. So Starovich wanted beetles fighting, and he got beetles frying. Then, an idea occurred. What if we recreated the fights using the abundant beetle carcasses we have available to us? Because, you know, we killed them. Apologies for the Polish accent, which was really a Russian accent, which was really terrible. So Starovich took the legs off the beetles, replaced them with more pliable wires that he could manipulate, then painstakingly recreate the fight using bugs as puppets and stop-motion techniques to reproduce the action. It was a success. It was one of the first stop-motion films ever made, and he was able to capture on film something that otherwise would have been impossible at the time, so double win. But Starovich was interested in doing more than just educating. He also wanted to push the boundaries of the medium that he was helping to create. So in 1912, he took another leap, and he made his first narrative film, The Cameraman's Revenge. The fact that this film even has a plot was groundbreaking, and the groundbreaking plot was odd. Leaving out the fact that all the actors are dead insects, it's just kind of an odd story to tell. It involves a married beetle flirting with a butterfly dancer and a jealous grasshopper who films their interaction to get revenge on the beetle who had bullied him earlier. If you were to create this film today, you'd get lots of letters from lots of people. If people still wrote letters, you'd get tweets. Parents would be unhappy with the adult themes. PETA wouldn't be too thrilled about the dead insects being used as puppets. And most modern critics would probably say that the whole thing was in bad taste. Maybe it was, but you can't deny there's something darkly comedic about using dead bugs as actors to act out this very human drama. But things got weirder. As time went on, the whole insectoid performer thing was a bit constricting to Starovich. He wanted to convey a greater range of emotions than, well, dead. Also, Russia was in a bit of turmoil. Somebody killed a car and then a civic war broke out or something like that. So France became home. At this time, he changed his name to Ladislas Starowich because everybody who is not Polish is genetically incapable of pronouncing Polish, especially on a first try, so just better to simplify things where possible. And also at this time, he turned to making movies with puppets. Hooray! Among the most popular of these was one called The Tale of the Fox. Hooray! Okay, let's just pause right here. Puppets are creepy. Now, I understand that I'm not breaking new ground in saying this. Lots of people think that puppets are scary and creepy and they hate them and want to burn them with fire and whatnot. So why didn't people back then? This was a very popular movie, and a lot of his films were similarly popular and similarly populated with creepy, janky-looking puppets. I think it's a little bit like early modern CGI. Pioneering techniques, and just good enough that most people at the time will look at it and say, well, this is new and interesting. It's amazing how much they were able to accomplish. That looks like a fox, or a human face. But we look back on it now and go, oh my goodness, why does it move like that and act like that? And ugh. It's like the first Tron, right? It looks terrible now. But at the time, it was awesome. It looked good enough that tons of nerds still swear by it just on nostalgia alone, because the technological accomplishment was a virtue in its own right.
Tron. Enter its world this summer.
It's a similar story with The Tale of the Fox and similar puppet movies. They worked at the time because it was unusual and fresh, but now it just doesn't quite work, in my opinion anyway. There's some people who still really think that it's a sweet story and well told, and, you know, they don't mind the way the puppets move. I do. But that doesn't matter. It's interesting that the dead bugs with pipe cleaners for legs were less off-putting than the puppets, which are just stuffed felt. The bugs, that was weird, but in a funny and, dare I say, even kind of charming way. But puppets are textbook uncanny. Almost real enough to be accepted, but just off enough to disturb you. And by the way, that doesn't go for all of Starovich's puppet work. Some of it translates to today very well. Check out the movie that won him the equivalent of the Oscar in the 1920s, The Voice of the Nightingale. The plot involves a little girl trapping a bird than having a dream wherein she realizes the pain she caused the animal and sets it free. In this film, we see a lot of classic Starovich tropes. You've got bugs doing weird, wacky stuff, animals being used as puppets, and perhaps more importantly to the future of the medium, motion blur, something that he was an early adopter on. And not to mention those imaginative, dreamy visuals. I don't even particularly like silent films, but this is a craft. Maybe it's not your wheelhouse, but like a well-sculpted thing, even if you're not into the art form, you could still appreciate that there was skill and care put into it, just like Starovich put a lot of skill and care into his work. This probably gives the clearest idea of what Starovich was trying to accomplish with his projects. Make imaginative films that convey a strong message in an artistic way. This movie is a reminder that animals aren't toys. Kind of funny coming from him, but it is a message that kids need to hear. And it works because the film's strong points match up with what kids have always wanted to see in movies. Adventure, cute animals, other kids, trees. It's just missing Chris Pratt or something like that. Conclusion time. So we're doing a new thing where I have to give my conclusion in less than 1 minute starting now. Does stop motion deserve to die? I don't know. But we probably shouldn't forget about it. It gave us fun and innocent childhood moments, a playful spirit we could identify with, and taught us valuable lessons. And the contributions of the likes of Starovich deserve to be remembered too. He brought a lot of weird, some might say disturbing elements to the table, but he invented a lot of methods that later animators used and perfected, and proved the medium to get us to where we are today. Look, we talk about movies from this era and we lump them all together because as the differences between then and now increase, we stop seeing the singular elements of each creator and artist and just see them as a collection of tropes from one time period. So it's worth pointing out the unique aspects of each creator. I would call what Starovich made middlebrow art, which is just as valid a calling as any other. It was meant to educate and entertain children, which is also worthwhile. He was a Polish but Russian but kinda Lithuanian animation pioneer, and I'm glad that we got to spend some time talking about him today. Boom! Done. Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe for more content like this. If you're wondering how else you can help out the channel, go to my website. Lots of useful things that you can do to help me create more content like this. That's jasperhudson.com, Hutson. Thank you very much, my good friends.